everybody, welcome to this episode of Sustainable Stace. I've got a beautiful little fresh plucked tea leaf here, a leaf and a bud. I'm in an organic tea garden at a smallholder garden in northeast India. Come check out a little bit about organic tea production here on Sustainable Stace.
I'm Stacey Taves. For me, healthy food and sustainability are totally connected. You can grow it yourself. Nature is generous.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Sustainable Stace. You might be able to tell that I'm not in my home garden. I'm wearing what I need to be wearing today, which you can see is a tea shirt. I'm in a tea garden in India and I'm investigating and looking at organic practices of small-scale tea gardens in Assam, the province in the northeast of the country of India. Let's check a few things out. So guys, one thing that's really important to realize about organic is how healthy it is, not just for the person who's going to consume organic, but also for the farmer or the grower who's producing it, and of course the ecosystem, the soil, the migratory habitat, especially the insect and the pollinator population. There's so many awesome, righteous things about organic, but no more important than in tea. Because after all, and I'm just going to pluck a little piece here, tea is in fact a fresh plucked leaf that is dried, and you call that tea, and you pour boiling hot water over it. Whatever was sprayed on that tea leaf ends up in your teacup, ends up in your body. So organic is super important for tea, far more than any other products, because whatever's on the leaf goes straight into your body from that dried leaf. So I'm in an organic tea garden here. It's only a few acres in size, and you can see it's very intercropped. There's betel nut trees, there's coffee trees, there's mango, there's citrus, there's cardamom and pineapple and many other things. And if you can hear what I'm hearing, oh, there's so many insects and birds, and it's just teeming with life. And we're just coming into the early start of the season when plucking will begin, and everyday pluckers will be picking the fresh plucked leaf, just the bud and the leaf at the top of the plant, and then it'll go through the many stages that result in finished or made tea, as they call it. So I'm just going to have you look around a little bit at this tea plantation. The tea bushes are very purposely pruned all to the same height, and every 4 years or so the height is varied from short to a little bit taller, a little bit taller, a little bit taller, and then cut right back again. And bushes can last up to 50 years or longer depending on how they were generated. If you look down, and it's a little tough with all the ground cover, there's a drainage trench here between my feet. See, it goes down about 1 meter, and that's when the heavy rains and the monsoons come, which is right during plucking. The drainage will come through and the water will be able to run off the tea garden and not just totally saturate the roots of all the bushes. I'll just let you see up close a bush. This one's just starting to get plucked. It's got some ferns growing through. None of this would get plucked for tea. It's far too coarse. This is what would get plucked for tea. 2 leaves and a bud right there, and that alone would be plucked off, and then it would go into the tea factory, as they call it, and any size of tea processing unit in India would be called a factory. There's a giant pollinator that you may be able to see that's just hovering around there. He's gigantic. Wow. And I'll just show you again another 2 leaves and a bud. Right here is what you'd be plucking for fresh plucked tea. Everything else is just solar panels. It's pulling up energy to produce the little fresh plucked leaves, and every 4 to 7 days the pluckers will come through and pluck more leaves off the same plants again and again and again. One of the constant challenges for small-scale tea producers is the cost of organic certification when they've gone to the trouble of being organic, and you don't just go from conventional using chemicals to suddenly being organic. There's a host of different practices you need to learn so that you can increase or hold your steady output and production from your tea garden without losing it to pests or insects. One of the big challenges a grower told me about today is that he had a sole garden. His own garden was organic and all his neighbors were conventional. And at the same time of the year, they all had a pest called looper that came into their gardens, and all of his neighbors on the same day sprayed for looper, and they drove all the pests out of their garden. And where did they all go to hide? In his organic garden, which got completely devastated. So one of the key things for gardeners to grow organic is to know the different products that they can gather locally. Usually it starts with things like cow urine and cow dung and leaves from a neem tree and things like that. And from that they make an organic compost. From that they strain it out to make a tea. And from that they spray it onto the leaves of the plant so that it can repel any insects that would try to come and prey upon the tea garden and make a little salad out of tea leaves, so to speak. So that can take a lot of effort and a lot of time, and for most people a lot of learning. Usually after a couple years, a grower can make it happen. I want to show you something else that's really cool that just caught my eye over here. I find time and again when I visit any growing operation, any garden, at any scale or any size, any farm, where the grower understands an ecosystem that's biodiverse with balance in it, is that nothing is tried to be repelled. You let a natural balance develop and health comes about vicariously. This place is full of hundreds of types of plants, all different species that are intercropped with the tea. And because of this, I hear time and again, when you're surrounded by good, healthy jungle and forest, and you've got all this intercropping of different plants right within the garden, the insects find their own balance, and you don't have a big problem where you're spraying chemicals, certainly not needed here in an organic garden, and the organic pesticides they would use would be very minimal, just developed and taken from the products that are produced in their own area. Maybe yes, maybe no. Do you recognize what this little plant is? It's a vine, as you can see, that's growing up out of the ground here in the in the tea plantation. There's a whole host of ants cruising up and down this vine. It's got these big leaves, and there's nothing on it right now that would help you identify what it is if you don't know, but I know this is a pepper plant. There's just no pepper on it right now, but that's a pepper plant that's vining up this shade tree here in an organic tea garden. In the words of the guy who runs this garden, this is the true certificate of organic. We'll just come in a little closer here. And the true certificate of organic, he would say, is what we've got in the ground right here. And this is worm castings. This is actually, after a rainy season, what comes right out of the body of the worms, and they're big chunks of dung that have passed through the earthworms here. And when you've got that in your garden, you've got proof that there's no chemicals. So check that out. Here's the biggest worm casting I've seen in the tea garden, just to give you a sense of scale, how much bigger it is than my hand. So yeah. The other thing that's very intelligent here in this organic tea garden is leguminous trees for shade. And leguminous as in it's a pod bearing in a legume family, so you know that it's nitrogen fixing and putting nitrogen down into the soil. Okay, so when you look around this garden, if you look straight ahead right there, that is a mango tree, and it looks like it's just coming into flower right now. So probably before long, there will be a lot of mangoes here. You can see all the little buds that are just starting to set up on this mango tree. And then I'm just going to back up again over this ditch and let you see what I see here. In the foreground here is a cash crop tree, which is also a shade tree, thoughtfully interplanted in with the tea. And this would be betel nut, which many people here in India would chew. It's not producing the betel nuts yet, but if you look up over this plant's shoulder and you look way up there, the tallest tree that's there, that's a mature betel nut tree. After 5 to 7 years, it'll produce the betel nuts, which they knock down and then they dry out. The shells are taken off as fuel for burning in winter when all the wood is wet. And then the nut inside is what they cut up to chew as a stimulant. Absolutely normally, what Sustainable Stace is all about is producing and growing your own healthy organic food in your own backyard. That's entirely my focus, but I keep getting these amazing opportunities to travel and to visit people who grow different things and have different skills in different places. This kind of like Sustainable Stace adventures. Really impressed by how beautiful it is to be in an organic tea garden. If I was in one that was conventional, there'd be no sound of bird, no sound of insects, and anybody who would be farming or gardening in this area would be exposing themselves regularly to pesticides and sprays that would be very toxic to their bodies, to the soil, to the water. And then you or I or whoever it is that's consuming the tea that's produced here would be exposed to all those same toxins that have been sprayed on the leaves and into the soil, and that would end up being taken into our bodies. So organic tea all the way. Well guys, I've got these red ants that are climbing up my pant legs biting me, so it's probably time with me and my little tea bush friend Plucky to sign off. And hey guys, thanks for watching this on YouTube today. Appreciate it. Please like and subscribe, and then more people will get more information that's hopeful, helpful, and healthy. Signing off from India.